Hi, it's Matt from Go Green Auto. So here we have a Renault Kangoo ZE. It's 100% electric. This one has got the 22 kilowatt hour battery pack. The batteries, which sits there under the floor, are leased. You pay a monthly fee from £25 plus VAT a month, and for that you get breakdown cover, and the batteries are guaranteed to 60% of their original state of health. This van has got the mesh style bulkhead with this side opening up over the passenger seat so you can put long loads through. It also comes with a set of roof bars there which you can put on the top if you want to, and in there are your two charging leads. This one also includes the portable charger, which means you can charge it on a 3-pin plug. And then at the back, this one has got the glazed doors with the wiper and a washer. It has also got parking sensors on the back bumper, and as you can see, it's all ply lined and in really nice condition. And I'll just quickly show you these charging cables while we're at the back. If I can do this one-handed. Here we've got your normal Type 1 to Type 2 charging cable. The charging on these Kangoos is a 3.6 kilowatt charging. They've only got one charging rate, so there's no DC rapid charging on the Kangoos. So typically it's overnight charging. It takes about 5.5 hours on one of these, on any AC charger. It will charge at 3.6 kilowatt, as I said. And then here we have a portable charger. Here's your Type 1 connector here, which you plug in the front of the van, and here's your 3-pin plug. So these chargers allow you to charge on any normal 3-pin socket. They can only draw 10 amps, so they do take quite a bit longer than using a proper wall charger. I think on these it takes about 9 hours to fully charge it from flat, but obviously most of the time your battery is not going to be flat anyway. These are very handy because it means you can charge anywhere. So if you've got a home charger installed and you're out on site during the day, it means you can top up anywhere where there's a 3-pin plug, which in reality is everywhere. Or if you don't have a home charger, it means you can charge on a normal 3-pin socket. But ideally, if you've got an electric vehicle, you want to get the home charger installed because it is more efficient charging at the 16 amp rather than the 10 amp. Your charge port is here at the front of the van, and it's the Type 1 connector. And as I said, these don't have rapid charging facilities, so you're limited to your daily range unless you can do top-ups throughout the day. And because they don't have DC rapid charging, you can't get that quick 20 to 30 minute charge, so the Kangoos are no good for the long distance driving. So as I said, this one's got the mesh bulkhead, so what that allows you to do is to fold the passenger seat, and then you can swing the cage bulkhead over, lock it into the seat, and then you've got a completely flush load area there, which allows you to put long items through. And I'll just show you from the back. So it's very handy if you want to carry long items. So the purpose primarily of this video is to describe the condition, and then what that allows is for people to buy the vehicle who can't come and view it first, and most vehicles go out like that, to be honest anyway. So I'm very honest about the condition. I point out every little mark, scratch or dent I can find. It can come across rather negative because I'm pointing out the negatives rather than the positives, but it means you've got no hidden surprises, and you know exactly what you're buying. And then I deliver the vehicle to you. I can deliver anywhere in the country, and the vehicle will come to you on a flatbed, fully charged and ready to go, or ready to use, should I say. So let's walk around and describe everything I can find. So firstly, let's start at the front. There is one small dent there in the bonnet. I would just say all these negatives I'm going to point out I have taken photographs of, so if you go in the photo gallery on the website you can zoom into the pictures and have a really good look as well. So really minor thing, the ZE sticker on there is fading a little bit. You could take that off. There used to be ZE stickers here on the Kangoo vans as well. The bumper's all in quite nice condition. There are some scratches on this side in the plastic, and there's a few little scratches there in the wing, that I've run a bit of touch-up touch-up paint in. But these wings are plastic, by the way, so they won't rust anyway. There's a bit of scratching on the centre of that wheel trim, but that's rather insignificant. These wheel trims do protrude rather. They're unique to the Kangoo ZE vans, and they do tend to get rubbed on curbs, particularly on this side. What else? There's a bit of scratching there on the back of the mirror cap, as you always get, but these mirrors are white, so they show it up more. The more modern ones just have black plastic mirrors. That door's all okay, there's nothing to point out there. So is that door. That wheel trim's all good, that panel's all good, nothing to note. The only other thing, again, the plastic in the corner here on the rear bumper has got some scratching, and it has got two little chunks and a tear here out of it, but it's very low down, you don't really notice it. It's a little mark here behind the below the reflector. It's got parking sensors, as I probably said earlier. Looking round at the back doors, they're really nice condition. Usually you get a dent here where the wrong door is slammed first and the catch hits the bodywork, but not so in this case. And then while we're round at the back, it's in really nice condition. Usually they're dented along here, and you know, there's a few little dents, but really insignificant. It's got fresh ply on the floor. It's in really good nick at the back here, and that scuff plate and the rubber trim is all pretty good as well. That's what normally shows the wear of a vehicle, but it's all good here. And we've got the rubber bung up there, which often goes missing. Let me just shut these doors properly. Continuing around this side, the only things I can find here is there is a crack here in the rear light lens, but it's not serious enough to replace it, and there's no water getting in, there's no mould or anything. So that is okay for now. Looking round here, that wheel trim's all good. Tyres are all very good as well. I'll put the tyre tread depths on the website. There is a minor little dent here, but you know, that really is minor. Round this side there is a little dent here on the crease, if you can see there, but again pretty minor. The rest of it is all very nice. And then the back of this mirror, there's a few little minor scratches, and there was a previous crack there that's got some paint in. Wheel trim down there is immaculate, and then back round this corner there are a few scratches on the corner of this front bumper, again like the other side, and one has just gone into the paint here, but as I said, these wings are plastic anyway. And then just to show you inside, the door card there is all in really nice condition. You got electric windows and electric mirrors. The seats are great as well. Normally well, Kangoo fabric is pretty weak and does show the wear and tear very easily, so for a van of 50,000 miles these seats are absolutely great, particularly that passenger seat. No wear on that whatsoever. On the driver's seat here, it is starting to wear just a little bit there, but not up here like it normally does, and nothing on this side where it normally does wear as well. Just a few little pinpricks where there's a few holes starting to appear on the fabric there, but really nothing for a vehicle of this age. And then there's a bit of scratching around here where the key goes in, where people can't put the key in properly. That's all completely normal as well on the Kangoos, and actually that's no worse than a 15,000 mile Kangoo, to be honest. And then jumping in, as I've said, the passenger seat is in fantastic condition, as is all of it, to be honest. Really, for a van of this age and this mileage, it's all been well looked after. If I'm going to be really picky, there's a couple of scratches there on the dash, and the rubber sort of surface on these buttons on the stereo is just starting to peel there on that middle button and on the power button, but that's pretty insignificant really. The only thing that I do need to point out, which is more obvious, is this centre pocket here has been melted here, here, and then on the bottom. Someone's put something hot in here, I don't know what, but it's melted the plastic. The cup holders here are fine, as is the pocket at the front and your 12-volt socket there. But yeah, that just looks a bit grubby. But again, it doesn't affect the rest of the vehicle. And then if I just start the vehicle up, we can see there the mileage is 50,775 miles. So this one has got air conditioning. That's unusual on a Kangoo ZE of this age, because that was an extra. It's also unusual to have stereos as well. Many of them don't. So this has got the stereo with the audible controls, you know, your stereo controls here behind the steering wheel, and you've got the screen up there where it displays your station information. It's also got the preconditioning, so you can move this heater control right round to the clock symbol. You can select on the dash what time you're going to leave in the morning, and then the van will switch on while it's connected to your charger and heat the van, and it will warm the cab up, it will melt the ice off the windows and get the vehicle ready for your journey at whatever time you set on the dash. And then what that means is when you leave, you've still got 100% battery, 100% range, and you probably don't need to put the heating on at all then, because the cab is already warm and you can do your driving or your commute without the heating on, because the heating system on a Kangoo is a resistive heater. Electric vehicles have to generate their own heat, because a normal petrol or diesel vehicle has effectively a fire under the bonnet where it's burning that fuel and heat is the byproduct. So you've got endless sources of heat. With an electric vehicle, it has to generate heat, and the newer vehicles use a heat pump, but the older vehicles like this use a resistive heater. So these do use quite a lot of energy. So in total, in the winter, in the cold parts of the winter, should I say, when it's very cold and freezing, you're going to see about a 20% loss in range from heating use. And then also the batteries are less efficient when they have got cold overnight. So next, let's talk about the range and the battery, which is probably your two most important questions you will have. So officially, when these are new, they had a NEDC figure of 110 mile range, but in, you know, that's a lab test. In real world, you're looking at about 80 to 90 miles when they're new, but obviously this isn't new. Typically at this age they're doing somewhere around the 60 mile mark in the summer. However, with all my vehicles I do a range test. I charge them to full and I drive it right round to empty. I do that with every vehicle to prove the range, so I can tell a customer with all honesty how many miles it's doing, again, so there's no surprises. And I did that the other night in this one. I have been driving this one as my own vehicle for a little while as well, so I know exactly what this one's doing. So I charged it to full, or what I thought was full, and then drove it round to naught. I drive them until it goes into performance limited mode, so at the last point they dull the power to the motor. I was doing 30 mile an hour in the village, and to be honest, at that speed you don't notice any difference, but I did about 2 miles in that state and then came in and charged. So I scanned the battery with my scanner before I left, and I wasn't actually at 100%. The battery state of charge was at 90.02%, so I had unplugged it a bit too soon. And then when I got in and it was down at naught, as I said, I scanned the battery again and it was at 4.33% state of charge. So my range test, which I did 74.1 miles, wasn't actually using the whole battery. So I think that 74 miles, you know, could have been nearer 80 miles, to be honest. Here we've got the distance here, 75.8. I've done a little bit since. The range meter on these is wildly inaccurate. It's only showing 34 miles there. To be honest, it's lost about 20 miles since I've been filming this, so you've got to completely ignore the range meter. You just have to go by the needle, and you get to know what your van doing. So in my case, 70 miles, you know, well, let's say 80 miles because that's more like the range. That's in the summer. If you divide all of that tank by 80, so half a tank is 40, quarter of a tank is 20 miles, so each block is about 10 miles. That's a more accurate way of judging your range. When I was doing that test, I reset the economy meter as well, so as you can see there, 4.85 miles per kilowatt hour, and I was driving normal road speeds, a good mix of roads. Most of it was rural country roads where I was doing no stopping, so no regen. Also quite a lot of A roads, which most of the roads around here have a 50 mile an hour speed limit on, so that was the speed I was driving. I did drive through Oxford briefly, so a bit more stop-start, and that's what these vans like, because when you're slowing down you're using the regen braking. So certainly you can get better, but as always your range is depending on how you drive and your speed and your driving style, just like it is with the diesel. And here we can see the consumption I use, 15 kilowatt hours. That's in whole numbers, so you know it could be 15.9, you wouldn't know. But as I said, the battery wasn't fully charged, and it wasn't utterly completely empty, but it was close enough. So it used 15 point something kilowatt hours to do that 74 miles. And yeah, so the other thing is battery state of health. When I scanned the battery, I did also look at the battery state of health that the battery is reporting, and it is currently at 80.5%, which is pretty good considering the age of this vehicle, and it's done 50,000 miles. So you lease the battery pack on these vehicles, and your battery agreement should be a guaranteed state of health of 60% on the 22 kilowatt hour Kangoos. However, a lot of people's agreements actually are coming through at 75%, which is what they put on the 33 kilowatt hour Kangoo or the ZE. But it should be at 60, but it depends on what your contract is. RCI have a habit of making mistakes on the contracts, so if you've got a battery agreement that it says 75% state of health guarantee, and obviously you have signed it and returned it and you've entered into that agreement, I should think they've got a hard you know, it's going to be hard for them to back out of that. But anyway, the proper state of health guarantee on the 22 Kangoos is 60%. So as soon as that battery has gone down to 60% original state of health, you get a battery replacement or a battery repair. But as I said, this is currently at 80.5%, which is very good, and the range is good for one of these. For a vehicle of this age and this mileage, then it's all spot on. I'll just show you the paperwork as well. This one has got 2 remote keys, and then here we've got all the paperwork. It's had 2 keepers from new, so 3 keepers in total. The registration date is the 21st of the 5th 2012. And then here we've got the MOT information, the previous MOT certificate. These vans are actually MOT exempt. There's no legal requirement for them to have an MOT. All electric vans registered before March 2015 don't need MOT tests, but most people don't realise, so they still go for them anyway. But the last MOT, which was done in 2017, was done at 40,000 miles, and it's only done 10,000 miles since. If you want an MOT test, I've got no problem getting one done. But yeah, as I said, there's no legal requirement for it. And yeah, here's all the previous receipts and MOT tests and lots of paperwork from the previous keepers. And then here we have the wallet with all the manuals. It's got all the books from new, radio book, quick start guide, and the handbook. It's also got the sticker in the back with all the code you need. And servicing stamps are in the back of the handbook, and it's got 3 there and 2 there. So yeah, it's had more services than you'd expect. Servicing on these electric vehicles, as you probably know if you've read my website, is little more than a pollen filter change. It's just an inspection and a pollen filter change. The pollen filter is the only serviceable part on these Kangoos, and then also the 12-volt battery about every 4 years. So once they're out of warranty, you know, there's no requirement to service them really. If you're going to get the MOT test done, then that is a more thorough inspection than the service, because obviously you do want to just check your tyres are legal and good, and as they age more, then obviously checking suspension, shock absorbers and bushes and things. So you know, an MOT test does have its place to keep you roadworthy. So either you choose to do an MOT or a servicing. So I would just add, everything works on this as you would expect, including the folding mirrors. This one has also got folding mirrors, which normally they don't work on the Kangoos, but on both sides they're folding like they would have done when it was new. Normally one or two sides stop working because there's sort of plastic mechanisms in there that do give up. But anyway, all working on this. The only other thing I would add, because I can't do a test drive while I'm filming, I don't have those facilities, but there is a bit of a motor whine on this, as you would completely expect if you know anything about electric vehicles. This one has done 50,000 miles, but that's completely and utterly normal. Electric motors make more noise as they age. They start silent, and at about 15 to 20,000 miles you can start hearing them. They just make a little bit of a whine as they speed up. It's quite a nice noise. It's a bit like a plane taking off. The motors on these are made by Continental, the German company, the same as they are in the Renault ZE. And actually my own Renault ZE has done 55,000 miles, and it's a lot noisier than this van. So I'm only stating it because I can't show you the a test drive. But again, as I say, it's completely normal, and if anything, this is probably a little bit quieter than you would expect at this age and mileage. So this is actually the second time I've had this van. I sold this van to a customer 1.5 years ago. They have now upgraded to another van from me, so I got it back in for the second time. So I know this van well. This one also doesn't have a VAT to be added either, because it's previously been owned privately, so the VAT has been paid. So if you're not VAT registered, then maybe this one is an advantage to you, and obviously works out a bit cheaper. I know there's a lot of people waiting for this because of the VAT situation, so yeah, if you're interested, then don't delay, because I'm sure this one will sell quickly. This one also has got that portable charger there in the boot, so that means you can charge it on a 3-pin plug. That's included. I can also arrange a home charger or work charger installation. The government pay £500 towards that with the OLEV grant. So the chargers now cost from about £300 to get installed. They have to be smart now, so you can control it with an app on your phone. So those take about 2 weeks to get installed. So in the meantime, you've got that portable charger in the back there to charge it on a normal 3-pin plug. It does take longer, but it will always be charged overnight and be ready for the morning anyway, so hey, it doesn't really matter. And what else can I say? Oh yes, these are MOT exempt. There's also no road tax to pay currently on electric vehicles, and being 100% electric and zero emission, this one's also exempt from the London low emission zone and also the congestion zone. So the saving there is just huge. If you're in London and driving a vehicle into the zone every day, you're looking at about £7,200 saving on those alone, and then you've got a saving on the fuel, saving on the servicing, and you've got no road tax and no MOT either. So the saving, the vans pay for themselves in less than a year. It's a no-brainer really if you're in London, and of course you're driving zero emission and not polluting like all the diesels are.